Hello, welcome back. My name is Jo, and we are going to talk about propaganda that I am not falling for as a language learner. This is just a fun discussion video based on the trend that has been making the rounds all over the internet in many different niches. So we have 6 pieces of quote-unquote propaganda that I will be responding to, and we're going to go in order of least to most objectionable to me. So the first one, this one I understand what people are talking about when they say it, and I respect it. But I personally simply will not be falling for the propaganda that there are words that you just don't need in another language. I see people say this a lot about like not making any effort to remember a word because they looked it up and they were like, I'm never gonna need that, or not reading fantasy books, for example, because there are words that you're just never gonna need, things like that. And I'm not saying that you need to make a flashcard of every word. Obviously, if you follow me whatsoever, you know that is absolutely not my vibe whatsoever. But for me personally, I'm basically never going to be like, I can forget that word. It's like, how many times do you think that about a word and then you later read something where actually that word does in fact come up again? So for me, it's not that I'm going to be making this Herculean effort to remember everything that I ever come across, but I'm also not going to be consciously deciding, oh, I don't need that word, or avoiding things because they don't have vocabulary that's useful to me. The next one is that you have to speak from day one. I understand why people say this, that it's good to not work speaking up into some huge hurdle in your mind, and that it will probably make it easier if you do speak at least a little bit. I just don't think the whole obsession around just say whatever you can say, if you can only say hola, mi nombre es whatever, say that. The whole pressure around you need to speak, you need to output, you need to just jump into conversations and say whatever it is that you can say. I think that's just a very individual thing. Some people really like that. Some people find it really motivational to be able to have those conversations. They may be really, really nervous in the moment, but they come away from it deliriously happy, oh my god, I just had a conversation in Spanish or in whatever language. Whereas that's not really my experience. I don't think that's a universal experience whatsoever, and I also don't think it's necessary whatsoever for learning. If you want to do it, but I personally don't want to do it. Then getting into things that I just don't agree with at all. We have don't use subtitles for movies, TV shows, whatever type of content. I agree that you need audio only input. You cannot always have the text in front of you or you will not strengthen your ear. This is something that I did have a problem with early in learning Spanish. I realized at one point that I basically did not have listening comprehension. I thought that my listening comprehension was improving, but it wasn't, because I was always reading along. But that's incredibly easy to prevent, and B, incredibly easy to fix if you realize it has happened. All you have to do is ensure that you are getting audio input as well, audio only input. So for me personally, that looks like, listening to podcasts, audiobooks, and YouTube videos without text input. Sometimes I will follow along with a transcript, but the vast majority of the time I do not. But I do use subtitles for movies and TV shows. I also use subtitles for movies and TV shows in English as well, because for one thing, the audio mixing quality these days is questionable at best. A lot of dialogue is very inaudible in any language. Secondly, they've done studies that it helps you develop more vocabulary if you have subtitles. So, it's just a different skill being developed. Yes, you're not developing as much of your fine-tuned listening, but you are developing more vocabulary. So as long as you're developing that fine-tuned listening elsewhere, you are not going to depend on the subtitles. Not everything has to be like all or nothing. Maybe you decide to use subtitles for native content but not use subtitles for dubbed content. Or maybe you just listen to enough things outside of movies and TV shows that it doesn't matter. But I personally will continue using subtitles for movies and TV shows in all languages, because it's just the way I prefer to consume movies and TV shows. Then we have, this is a similar one, and I think this is exclusively an ALG theory thing, but it is that reading will mess up your accent. I just don't think that's true. I don't think that there's any scientific research that backs this up whatsoever. I've never heard any experts of any kind say this. So yeah, I just don't think that's true. Again, if you're only ever reading things, if you're not engaging with like majority spoken material, sure, maybe. But yeah, I just don't see this being even remotely plausible to me, to be honest. I will be continuing to read from day one in every language. Then we have don't look things up in your native language or any other language. Like, only use the target language to look things up. Never translate. And I just will never succumb to this propaganda ever. I think this is so stupid. No offense. I don't know that it's necessarily a great idea to drill translations. Like, if you're using flashcards, maybe I can see the argument there. I still don't think that it's necessarily a huge issue if you're getting a lot of input, because you're still seeing that word or phrase in a lot of different contexts. But if you're depending really heavily on flashcards, then like maybe that's a good point. But to just look things up, if you are looking up in a monolingual dictionary, a lot of definitions are going to be completely useless. Like, I have looked up things before because I do have a monolingual dictionary on my e-reader and I do use it the majority of the time. But sometimes I have to switch from the monolingual dictionary to a translating dictionary because the monolingual dictionary is useless to me, because it's like, think about a word definition of a cherry tree, like a deciduous plant that grows to approximately 5 feet tall and grows in temperate climates, produces a fruit in the whatever seasons. Like, that, tell me what that goddamn word is. Like, I already know a language. I do not need to reinvent the wheel every single time I am learning anything, because obviously, yes, as a child, you're learning what things are along with the word for them. We don't need to do that anymore. We already know what most things are. So there are some words where obviously a bilingual dictionary is going to overly simplify them in order to make the translation, but usually they will have multiple definitions that kind of demonstrate that it's not a direct translation. And again, if you are getting enough input, you will see that there are different contexts. I just don't think that the amount of inconvenience and problems that this could cause remotely outweighs the occasional mistranslation or lack of nuance that might temporarily arise because of using a translating or like a bilingual dictionary. I don't support this at all. And it also makes it basically impossible to use any content that's above your level, which I find essential for motivational purposes. So yeah, this one's not for me. I feel very strongly about this, obviously. And then controversially, my top pick, my number one propaganda that I will not be falling for, is AI and language learning. I am so anti-AI and language learning, and I don't care how much people hate me for this. Like, I don't want it. I don't care what it is. I don't care how helpful it is, how useful it is, whatever. I don't want to learn a language from a machine who has just cannibalized all of the work that everyone who actually speaks that language has created over the past like 50 years on the internet. Like, I don't want it. I don't want any of it. I don't want your AI tool in your app. I don't want to talk to ChatGPT. I don't want to have ChatGPT write me a story at my A1 level using XYZ vocabulary. No, I want to read an actual story written by an actual person who speaks that language and can give me nice, nuance, and beautiful writing. There are so many people doing so many amazing things in content creation, in creative spaces, in writing, in making videos, in whatever entertainment or information industry that you need. And many people are doing them as passion projects where you don't have to pay directly. Maybe you watch ads, maybe it's a possible paid thing, like they have some option to support them, or maybe you do have to pay a small amount, and I know that that's not achievable for everybody, but I personally do not want to use anything knowingly that is AI, and I understand that there are a lot of things that are trained with AI initially but are not using it at this point, but I have no interest in tools or apps that have generative AI built in, and I have no interest in using a generative AI like ChatGPT for language learning. I want to learn languages from the products that real people have put real love and intention behind, and I simply will not be talked out of that. So, what propaganda have you fallen for? What propaganda will you not be falling for? I could probably talk about propaganda that I have fallen for because I think there's probably a lot of those as well. But thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.